Well, my dear ones, how beautiful it is and what a joy it is to be here with you on this great Good Sunday in February still, the month dedicated to love. And we certainly see that and are aware of that, very especially during the month of, at least it seems to me, February, because there's lots of loving things going on. And again, the month again, so full of everything, dedicated to love and dedicated to a healthy heart, and dedicated to ahimsa, which is the Sanskrit word for nonviolence, and also the honoring of Black History Month, and more and more and more. And so today, it is very appropriate in the midst of this golden garden here, and this beautiful reminder of how we all get to follow the light, because we are the light, and the light loves to be in the light. That we are thinking about the human family. And oh my gosh, oh golly gee, I nearly got worn out thinking about it to begin with, until I pulled my wits about me and remembered I don't have to worry and be concerned about it, because whatever the message is for us today comes through from Spirit. But it's an awesome big thing to look at. And then what really came through as I sequestered myself last night in my room, as I always do on a Saturday night, was family, honing on family. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, of course, family to me conjures up all kinds of things. When I think of family, I think of intimacy, I think of security, I think of support, I think of caring, I think of sharing, I think of giving, I think of warmth, I think of welcome, because I've been blessed with that kind of upbringing. Not everybody has. But I have, and so that's what comes to my mind when I think about family. And then, if family is within the context of the human race, the humanity of us all, well, the same thing is to be experienced within the macro as is within the micro. It's the very same thing. But if we look out there into our world at the moment, I'm not sure that that's what we're seeing. I'm not sure that anyone could define the human family as such. Now, again, it surprised me, because usually when I read something from the Dalai Lama, it's very uplifting and you feel good about it. But this crossed my path because I'd written it in some other context. This is from the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama was once asked what surprised him most about humanity, and he responded, man. Because he sacrifices his health in order to make money, then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health, and then he is so anxious about the future that he does not even enjoy the present, the result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then he dies having never really lived. Well, after that, I thought, what were you thinking that day, Your Holiness? What were you thinking? And even it showed me that His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, has his moments. And when he looks out there, he's not seeing the one life, the one world, the one people, the one family, in the sense of what I described as an individual family. He's seeing the actuality of what is happening on our planet just now, not the reality that it is meant to be and what we're supposed to experience, which is a planet of serenity and so on. So as I was contemplating that, I was thinking, well, our work is cut out for us, really and truly it is, because each one of us, as Ernest Holmes says, we have to remember that we, especially truth students, we are not against anything. We're not against anything. You'd never know it in the conversations we participate in. We are for something. We are for something, and there's only one thing we can be for, and that's life. That's life. Because being for life, we're for the self of ourselves, we're for the self of each other, we're for all that is good, whole, and wholesome. And one way, whether you look at it or not, the family of man, the family of mankind, is interconnected, interrelated, intertwined, interpersonal in the way that life works. I remember once being standing in awe in New Mexico, looking in semi-desert, looking at a whole field of sage bushes of all kinds. Whole field, it was awesome, it was great, the energy was fantastic. Mountains all around me and way in the distance, of course. And then I was reminded that they're all separate bushes as I'm looking at them, but underneath all their roots are intertwined. It's all one great big root system. They're all intertwined. That's the way it works. And so it's the same with us. Here we are, this one global family, and we've got to make a go of it. And Ernest Holmes reminds us that really and truly that creation is depending upon you and it's depending upon me to sustain its welfare and its well-being. It's depending on you individually, on me individually to do that, to support the life that is from the life that I am. But how can I do that if I'm dragging myself around most of the time, or if I'm depressed? I just recently came across again a reminder that some soul got a light bulb about it once when he or she was, I can't remember, it was a he or she said, you know, if you're depressed, it's because you're living in the past. And if you're anxious, it's because you're living in the future. And if you are at peace, it means you're in the present. And I thought that was good for me to pay attention to. So if I feel my energy dipping into a depression, to pull my socks up myself in them. And remember, I've gone strolling down memory lane and the memories are not so hotsy-totsy. Or if I'm anxious about something, it's because I've gone over there and I'm not there yet. And why would I be anxious about something that hasn't even happened yet? And look here now, this is a beautiful moment and I could make myself a cup of tea and really enjoy it. And wouldn't that be nice? And so whatever that is, or I would be able to meet the day as the day meets me. I mean, how many of us meet the day as the day meets each and every one of us? How many of us get up every day and say, I'm going forward now to be present in my day, and I will meet everything and everyone in a present way. I mean, simple little things to raise the energy on this planet, you wouldn't believe how simple it is. For example, when you're sitting down to eat something or drink something, you pause and you think, I couldn't be eating or drinking this without thousands of people and tons of trains and boats and planes and lorries and freeways and God knows what nuts. It took all those thousands and thousands of people to put all of that together so I could sit down and eat this meal and have this cup of tea from India or China, wherever it comes from, you see. And I'm grateful, I truly am grateful for that. And I bless everything and everyone that has brought, and every grace I say for myself personally, I bless everything and everyone that's brought that to my table. I do. But that's presence. That's presence. That raises energy. That blesses all. It builds up. It raises up. And my mind is on something that is doing something to sustain and maintain creation, to help it along and not be in the way of it. This is what it is to be part of a human family. It's just the same as being part of any family. Now, whether that family is your working family, whether that family is your home family, whether that's the family you came up and out of, whatever group you're in, it is your family. It's the family of man. And then if we could remember that, maybe we'll be behaving ourselves accordingly and be a dutiful member of that family. With enthusiasm, eagerness, and happy to be so. And like any family, I mean, I know people in family, they don't like each other. They love each other. There's nothing they wouldn't do for each other. They don't always like each other. And that's okay too. You don't always have to like each other. But love is not an option. We must love each other. What does that mean? I must sustain goodwill and helpfulness and cooperation, consideration. With regard to family members. That's what I'm obligated to do. I really don't have a choice, not really. Because if I don't do that, I'm going against my natural nature, which is a hard way to live, and it depletes one of energy. And we're supposed to be raising energy so that this world can get a grip. And as Rodney King used to say, why can't we just get along with each other? Why can't we? There's no reason as to why we cannot, except we're steeped in tribalism, 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 tribalism. People think it's a great word. Some people do. My tribe. And that's okay because they understand the way they're using that term. But really and truly, we need to be done with tribalism, unless you want to consider the whole world as your tribe. That's fine then. But otherwise, we who are interconnected, interrelated, we who cannot separate ourselves from each other, behave ourselves like we're separate entities from others. We're separate groups from others. We're not the same as others. We're different from others. And so on, and so on. There's every reason to see why we can separate ourselves and how we do separate ourselves and the reasons for separating ourselves. But there's no spiritual reason for it, that's for sure. Because there's no such thing as separation in life. There's one life. There's no separation in it. What don't we understand about that? What don't we understand about united we stand, divided we fall? I never realized where that came from until quite recently. That came from pre-constitutional wartime. And it was in a piece, I can't remember who it was, that wrote it, that said, united we stand, divided we fall. But now it's universal. All great speeches ever since has quoted this particular quote. United we stand, divided we fall. And that's an American concept. Well, we need to pull it back and own it right now, don't you think? United we stand, divided we fall. But you and I can't look out at the world and get ourselves totally overwhelmed. What we need to do is look at the slice of the world that we're living in, where we are, and then unite in that. Bring together in that. Belong to that. And make that something that I am deliberately a part of, consciously a part of, and want to be a part of. And understand there can be no separation here. There can be no picking and choosing. There can be no, this group is better than that group. These people are better than those people for whatever reason. For whatever reason. And we need to do that by starting to keep good company with ourselves and see how we are with ourselves. I mean, how united am I within myself? You know, how together am I within myself? How am I integrated within myself? Am I integrated within myself? Because as I am, in my own sense and sensibility, that's how the world is to me too, because it can only give back to me what it receives from me. And I am a broadcasting station just as you are. And from that broadcasting station goes out waves and waves and waves of energy. It's either good, bad, or indifferent energy that's going out from us. You know, it's either negative or positive or blah, you see. I mean, people will say, well, I didn't do any harm. No, but you didn't do any good either. And that doesn't make it all right, just because you didn't do any. You see, knowledge is not enough. It must be applied. Willingness is not enough. There must be a doing underneath the willingness. Passion is not enough. There must be fire underneath the passion. It's the fire underneath the passion that gets the action moving and you doing and being and creating all the good that you're here to come, that you signed up for and said, me, I want to go, pick me. I want to go, I want to be in the front line, I want to go, I want to be down there now, I want to be there now. I want to help out. I know I can. And we come here and we go, oh my God, I think I landed in the wrong place. And forget all about our eagerness and keenness to come here and support and assist all of life, all of creation, by keeping the energy going. We're like those shovelers that shovel in the coal, that used to have to shovel in the coal to keep the fires going, to keep the energy going, to make things work. I think we're not shoveling enough myself. I think we've forgotten what a shovel is, actually. And so it's time to call ourselves back to that. We need to ignite that passion again and allow ourselves to be burned up in our enthusiasm to be what? Nothing less and nothing more than the best of ourselves, which is the best way to support life and living. Be your own best self, you know. I think we have forgotten how to do that and how to be in that energy with ourselves. And somebody else, I don't know where all this came this week, was saying, that we seldom come home to ourselves. Don't you think it's time to reacquaint ourselves? And we really do need to reacquaint ourselves with ourselves all of the time to see what's going on in my mind just now. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking this way? What has happened that causes me to think this way or feel this way? And as I always used to love that, and I only remembered it recently, what Judy Garland says. She said, be your own best rate person and don't settle for being second best version of somebody else. And it shouldn't matter what other people have or who they are or what they do and so on. That shouldn't matter to us. This is all that matters to us, who I am and what I'm doing and what I'm being and so on. And not compare and contrast and not be so competitive in that way. And so that all happens. Anytime you're disgruntled, I'm disgruntled. Anytime you find you're comparing yourself to somebody else, anytime you wish you were over the garden wall because there's a better view over there, it means you don't think of yourself as being enough. There's something about yourself that you're not happy with. There's something about yourself that you haven't discovered yet or rediscovered yet. You're just not happy with who and what you are because you don't think you measure up or are enough. And I'm not talking about measuring up to people's ideas of you. That doesn't matter a whit. Measure up to your own idea of yourself and how and who and what you should be by now. And that is the greatest drainer and sucker of our energy than anything else. And we are our own stoppages and blockages, and nobody else is as good at that as we are in our own lives. So for the family of man to increase and expand and be all that it can be, it just means that your humanity and my humanity must do that first. And it's going to happen one human being divinely aware at a time. One human being divinely aware at a time. That's how it will happen. No other way. And so when you look at it at the microscopic level, at the micro level, the level I'm here in now and my range of experience, it's not as overwhelming as when I look out there and see, good God, I have to do something to bring about some kind of peace on earth and goodwill to all. Yes, I do, but not looking out there is not going to do it. Only in here will that happen. Only in here will that happen. And here's another thing, as I was reminding myself this morning. We talk about wanting more love and wanting more peace and discovering more, of the virtues and this, that, and the other. And that's an impossible thing. If I'm all the time seeking these things, I'm using up my energy and I'm losing out. Because love and joy and peace and happiness are not goals to be achieved. They are the byproducts of something. They're byproducts. They're not goals to be achieved. So in order for me to find this love or whatever it is I'm looking for, the only way I can do that is to be it. Isn't that interesting? The thing I think I'm not, I must become because I already am it. So I must return to it. That's all I have to do. The joy I think I haven't got is already mine, but I must return to it. That's what I have to do in order to realize it, because it's the byproduct, and it's the byproduct of all I'm thinking of, saying and feeling and believing, and all of the outside world's stuff that has brought to me itself and I have owned. So these are not goals to be achieved. There's nothing to be achieved when it comes to supernatural, what's called supernatural, which is natural super life, which is divine life, which is whole life, which is complete life, because I'm already that. And that is a big frog to swallow at times when you feel anything but that. But nevertheless, that is the reality. Your actuality, your actual circumstances, goings on, and experience of life is not the truth. Reality is the truth. And within that truth, you are whole, you are perfect, you are complete. You are the essence and the beauty and the grace and the sovereignty and the power and the delight and the joy and the heart of life itself. That you have always been. That's what you were. That's what you came from. That's what you are now. And that's what you always will be, whether you can even sense a sliver of that or not. That is the truth. And all you and I have to do is to prove it to ourselves. No one else, but to ourselves. We have to stop deliberating against ourselves, presenting the case against ourselves all the time. Every time we go into a negative, every time we think we're not, whatever, we are arguing for our limitation, arguing all the time for our limitation. Listening to people's conversations, this is what we do all the time. We argue for our limitations, and we support our limitations by thinking about them and feeling them and owning them and saying, this is what I am. I don't feel is a good thing to say, but I am lacking or limited. It's not, because I am the most powerful, again, words that you and I can never use. I feel is okay, because a feeling always changes, it passes very quickly. And remember, everything and anything in the material world is impermanent, and yet, according to what the Dalai Lama is saying, we spend most of our time trying to hold on to all the things that and stuff and all the rest of it that's impermanent, and we're not thinking about the permanent aspect of our beings. They're stunning and awesome. My gosh, if you could see yourself the way you really are. You know the Harry Potter mirrors, when you look into them, you can see all kinds of everything and so on. Well, if you were to look into a magical spiritual mirror, you couldn't look at yourself. You'd be so stunningly gorgeous and great and glorious and grand and resplendent. You could just be... It would do your body in. It really would. Now that is the truth. This is the truth. You are the awesome, amazing, incredible energy of the universe and all of life. Now, that's what you are. I know you're sitting there thinking, I wonder if I get up out of this chair. And yet, you are the awesome, powerful energy of the universe. Absolutely, stunningly, and awesomely unlimited. That's what you are. Now, if you and I were to think of that enough, we would get there. And let me tell you, once where there was an ache, there'd be no ache at all. Once where there's a dragginess, there'd be no dragginess at all. Once where you thought you were growing old, you would know I'm growing young. All of a sudden, I'm growing young again. Why do we grow young again, or can grow young again? Because we've always been young, and we always will be young. We're eternal, for goodness sakes. There's no more to be said after saying that. And what that eternality is, it's whole, it's perfect, it's complete, it's resplendent. And within that amazing hologram of all of life, there are different facets, but every facet contains the whole of the whole hologram within its own faceted self. That's what you are. Why would you settle for anything less or think anything less than that of yourself or anybody else for that matter? You see, there's the kick. If I get it myself, I get it about everything and everyone, and then everything and everyone ceases to bother me in the least bit once that happens. And I see them all, these wonderful, different books in the great library of life, and some of them are horror books, and some of them are poetry books, and some of them are mystery books, and some of them are playful books, and some of them are all kinds of whatever book you could ever think about, but they're all that what constitutes the library of books, and every single one of those books has its place in the library. Couldn't be that library without that book. And so that's what you and I are celebrating this week as we move through Love Month. We're celebrating the family aspect of all of life, the interconnectedness of all of life. That connectivity, that engagement, that presence to all of life. Yes, even that person, when you see them coming, you want to cross to the other side of the road, you don't. You walk straight up there and you meet and greet that person like you were the resplendent reflection of that person's self in that magical, mystical, spiritual mirror, if you could see it. That's what namaste means. The light and fire within me greets the light and fire within you. And so you can stand in front of the mirror and say, this girl is on fire. This guy is on fire. You can do that. If Alicia Keys can do it, you can do it. And why not? She knew a thing or two and she made that breakthrough. On fire, but be on fire. But remember, you're a fire that never burns. You're the white fire. You're the light fire. You're the love fire. You're the joy fire. That's the fire you are. On fire, you know the raging energy in fire. We have witnessed this. We have witnessed this. The ferociousness and the powerfulness of fire. But the fire of spirit never burns. Quite the opposite. It warms, it uplifts, it expands, and it gives us wings so that we can fly. And you have the wings to fly right here and right now. There's nothing more for you to do. It's like when the caterpillar thinks the caterpillar ends, life sees a butterfly. So when we're going around crawling and creeping like caterpillars, the life of us is seeing the butterfly, you know? And that's the way it is. So this week you are called home to yourself. This week you are called into the awareness of the true essence of your being and your absolute state of readiness. You are in readiness right now. You couldn't be more ripe. You couldn't be more ready for the increase, for the awareness, for the ability to say yes again to that mission you came in here for, and say, as Doris says about everything, I'm on it, I'm on it, I'm on it. And so you are.